morning just to go through a little bit of just what's going on in our mortgage industry. Brad's going to give us an update, and then Mike's going to go into what's going on at national level, local level, all the numbers, review some of those numbers from the OAR webinar from earlier this week. But one thing I want to talk about is within the last hour, Trump just signed the new SBA funding. So I just wanted to touch on what that means to you guys, right? So 60 billion of that is allocated for the EIDL, and that is what you guys could get as a sole proprietor, independent contractor. So if you do have questions, if you've already applied for an EIDL loan, it's said that the SBA is going to continue to disperse those on a first come, first served basis, and you do not need to reapply. If you have not applied for the EIDL one, then the process is the same. You go online to the SBA website. And I'm certainly no expert. I'm just giving you guys the high level overview. So go ahead, and Tanya posted all these links on our Facebook group. So if you want any more information. Then the other loans were the PPP loans, and those were the ones that you can use for wages and things. So you have to have an employee to do those ones, and those loans are the ones that you have to go through your bank. So some of the documentation and forms have changed on that for the second round. So make sure if you have one of those, you're really talking with your bank, staying on your bank, and just staying in touch on all of that. Does anyone want to share anything about, has anyone, received any money or want to share anything that they've learned or know about any of those?
We did a PPP application through Chase.
Yeah.
May have not been the best choice, but that's where we do our banking, as does KWPP.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, or a number of people that we know that went through smaller banks, all received funds. With White's assistant, we applied through another small bank, and they were all over it, and it's all approved, and they're just waiting to go to the SBA. But they're going to run out of money in an hour or two once they open it up. So we'll just,
right. And yeah, I know Dwight had the similar experience working with Chase. I was hoping he'd share a little bit. He's not quite on yet, probably on another line. But so if you are going for that PPP loan, your better bet would probably be to go to a smaller bank, because the bigger banks are going to have.
Yeah, and most of them say that they're closed, that they're not taking any more applications.
Oh. Okay.
I didn't believe them, so I went in and I had to fill out something for KWPP, and they had a link on there to add another company. So I just did the Clark Group there, and the experience was significantly different, much better with the smaller banks. So we're hoping.
Good. So, take advantage of the resources that are available, and make sure if people need help on that, refer to all those web pages. And because I believe they're going to start dispersing money maybe as early as Monday. But again, it's all like the news changes every time I look. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. And then let's turn it over to Brad. Will you give us a little bit of update of what's going on with mortgages and lending?
You bet. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and it's great to see everybody. A couple quick updates. First of all, as you probably all know, interest rates are really kind of at the best level they've ever been. But what we're seeing is there are a lot of inconsistencies out there. We're hearing things from banks like Chase that are saying, hey, we're only going to lend to people that have 700 credit scores or better, 20% equity. That's not where we're at. We're still, conventional loans, we're still going down to 620, while FHA and VA rates have, our credit score requirements have come up. Things are still very available. Rates are good. We're also servicing all of our loans now, so we're taking some of the issues that are happening on the servicing side out. Our turn times are still about 30 days, but you can find a conventional 30-year rate, 3.25 to 3.5. FHA, VA, 3 to 3.25. So we're talking about some incredible rates for people who either need to, refinance, or for those who are looking to buy. Incredible affordability right now for those people too, when you're talking about that kind of level of interest rates. The other thing that we can do is we're locking loans right away. Some of the companies we're hearing are waiting to lock loans once they actually get through underwriting. We're hearing that for Quicken and some other places. So very beneficial to be a mortgage company like us in terms of controlling timing, locks, all that. Would it be okay if I shared a couple charts too?
Absolutely.
Cool. I just have a few charts. I love my charts here. Thought I would share a few things that we're seeing. And if you guys want copies of this stuff, let me know. I'll be happy to share this with you guys. You can just email me. Can you see that? Is that coming through okay?
I got it, Brad.
Okay, sweet. First of all, some of the information that's out there is saying that this is going to be a lot different type of recovery than we've seen in the past. When we went through the 08, 09, 7, 8, 9 recovery, it was more of a U-shaped. The expectation is that the second quarter is going to be very bad. Obviously, we're already starting to see those numbers, but we could see things jump back up very quickly. And so staying active, continuing to do everything you can to prospect during this time, get people ready to go. So even if you have a borrower who's thinking about it, now's a great time to get pre-approved. Even if they're furloughed and they know they want to do this eventually, we know they're going to be back, and that'll be okay. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was this is the last 5 recessions and what has happened with the real estate home prices during those times. And you can see 3 out of the last 5 recessions, we actually saw growth in real estate during those times. And really the only one that we saw significant change was 2007-8 timeframe. And of course, we know that was driven by all of the bad lending that was happening, oversupply. The real estate was a big part of the reason that happened. But even from that, we know there's been great recovery over the last 12 years from that. So it's just some interesting information, because I think clients are worried that, hey, what's going to happen if I buy now? Is my home going to be worth 10, 20% less a year from now? So this is some really great information about what can happen during these things. I don't even know if we would call this a recession. I'm not sure what it's going to be. We'll probably won't know that until we're on the other side of it. And then the other thing that's really interesting, that's really different between now and that last big crash, was coming into this time frame, we had some of the best, healthiest times with real estate. Even up to April numbers, I think the the February numbers that I saw recently, nationally, I think we were up 5-6% appreciation. So real estate has been really strong coming into this time frame, which is why we think that it will continue to stay steady. So you can see the numbers over the last 6 years have been really healthy. They've not been out of control. And you can see leading into the housing crash, appreciation was just going a little bit crazy. These are national numbers, of course, but you can see we're just in a different place real estate wise. And I think that's important to remind people that are worried about, real estate. One of the things that we're doing and we're encouraging everybody to do is, hey, keep prospecting for leads, be the one who's educating them and helping them understand what's happening, keep nurturing those, because once we get through this and people are comfortable with buying, there's going to be opportunity to close loans. We know real estate is just in a much different place. Inventory is still low, interest rates are really low. A lot of the product that we've been using on loans are really solid. The other thing is people have equity. So if they are in a situation where they can't afford their home anymore, they're more likely to want to sell it rather than short sale or foreclosure, because they have so much equity out there. So I've got actually tons of data and slides. If you're interested in more of that information, things that you want to either do blogs for, share with clients, shoot me an email. It's just brad.hanson@academymortgage.com. or Josh, you can send it to either one of us, and we'd be happy to send you that information. So feel free to give us a call. Happy to kind of help with anything we can do, whether it's a client situation. We still have some jumbo products available. We still have a few non-QM bank statement products available. It's the other thing that's really different is we're not seeing, the banks are all kind of panicking a little bit in doing things like what Chase is doing. But we still have a lot of great products. And like I said, we're servicing and we're able to help a lot of people during this time. So any questions at all on what's going on? Hopefully that gives you a quick overview.
Yeah, that was great. And the charts and the graphs were great. And it was just a good reminder to stay knowledgeable on the information. So when your clients are asking, now you can be that resource for down the road or when they do want to buy or sell.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad.
You bet.
Okay. Let's continue on looking at some numbers and predictions for the future economics of real estate. And I'm going to turn it over to our very own Mike.
Good morning, y'all. Let me just go ahead and get you a screenshot here. Here we go. I'll share my screen. And everything Brad talked about really fit in with some of the conversations I'm hearing out in the marketplace right now. And you'll hear that echoed sort of throughout what I have to pull together for you. Before we get starting on the specifics, what I want to do is tell you about a new product from RMLS. They now have a weekly activities report. I haven't explored, so I don't know the exact method to get into it, other than it's on its first page, on the first page of the entry login. It talks about RMLS weekly listing activity report, and it's done for each one of the RMLS areas. I have posted here what it looks like for area 147, and there's lots of conversations you can have along with that, and you can really narrow it down to a specific area as you're doing a market analysis. But that's a great tool to have, and I would explore it as quickly as possible. If you need some help, let me know. I'll be glad to go through it with you. But let's sort of get into what the conversations. I've been to a couple of both national and local presentations by economists. Most of the national information comes from an OAR presentation from Lawrence Yun, who's the top economist for NAR. Excuse me. Just really highly in demand. Bill Conley, Dr. Bill Conley, he's more of a national guy, and Noah Blanton, which we've had into our office to talk, and and he's more of a local guy with WFG. And so let's go ahead and get started with some of the overview. Let's take a look at those things that affect the national scene. Very much as Brad has said, low interest rates. They could in fact go a little lower, below 3, maybe 2.7 for a period of time. And I'll talk about that in a second when I talk about what's happening to the T-10,000 or the T-bills, and how interest rates track with that. Jumbo loans look like they're going to continue to be a problem, but should cure itself as the economy gets rolling. But short term, it's going to be just make sure that you follow through on them, make sure that what you have, and just put them on intensive care. If your buyer needs a loan program that becomes a jumbo. Low inventory will continue over the next 6 months or plus. And they will caution, the economists will all caution that things can change fairly rapidly, but the general things we're talking about are the way it'll go. It's a question of how quickly any of it goes. unlike 2008, which needed a long recovery time and market adjustment, we're sort of at instead of having an economy that was, number one, having the housing market being the problem in the market or a problem in the market, here the real estate market is very healthy, and their feeling was more that this is going to be more of a pause than a correction. In 2008, we had a significant correction in both the lending process and also in the real estate industry itself. This is sort of like 9/11 or any of those other types of quick things, which has disrupted us and significantly over a very short period of time. You're going to see, so it's sort of like pushing the pause button, and as we come out of it, we could have that same effect. I mean, think of where we've come in the last 3 or 4 weeks, how quickly. The thought process is that we're probably going to recover at that type of rate. New construction will be a bit slower and lag behind because of the backlog of both money, people wanting to spend or invest in construction loans and spec loans. So you're going to see that come back a little slower. And also there's simply a backlog of permits that are waiting for final approval, because that sort of came to a standstill when this whole thing started. Housing market will be down. The feeling is the housing market will be down 5 or 10% over the year, but that's simply because we can't completely make up what we've lost in the last 45 days. So it's not a question we will be down going forward. It's a question of we're kind of trying to make up some ground. And initially we have some pent up demand too, which will boost us. And to give you even a little more positive spin is 2021, they're thinking that we should be up 8 to 12%. So what we've lost this year, just because the business is there that way, it'll change, and we'll get more of that back and plus a little bit more. So that looks very healthy for us as an industry and what the next year or two looks like.
Mike, are
Yeah.
those percentages, those are related to volume of sales as opposed to pricing? When you say down 5 to 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because the appreciation, they're expecting appreciation to be up.
Okay.
And continue to up. There's nothing that talks about appreciation going down.
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to have some short-term issues of people becoming a little more motivated quickly, having come through the last 45 days. And the market's going to be a little bit like a November, December. It's going to be more of a need to move basis than a want to move. Some of the want to moves will end up coming back to us in next year. The need to moves are still there, plus some pent up demand, and that's where any business this year will probably come from. But again, it really depends on what type of recovery we get.
Thank you.
Okay, let's back here. Okay, we talked about interest rates, and as they say, the conversation, and Brad covered it excellently, but they thought the interest rate, there was some room to go down. Mortgage rates sort of track along with the 10-year T-bill, and as you can see with the chart, you sort of see it as it goes down, so does mortgage rates go down. But the difference is here is they're thinking that there's a little bit wider gap than is normal through this thing. So they're saying, gee, we could go as low as 2.7 for a short period of time. So that sort of comes back and sort of reinforces that conversation. that these are going to be the lowest interest rates of our lifetime, most likely. Okay. The stimulus package has done a lot to that is with anything, when you dump the kind of money that they've dumped into it, it gets the equity position of one person over another. It becomes very tough to manage. But the government has just dumped several $1 trillion into this. And obviously that the issue with that is it really will help prevent us from really falling into any sort of depression. But it, in fact, you can look at that, gee, is there a price to pay for the additional debt? And the price to pay is probably in a danger of inflation over the next, not the next year, but maybe 2 or 3 years out, because we're incurring, as I say, significant amount of debt. But what has been put into this, they reacted in this case much quicker than they did with the recession in 2008. They just dumped a ton of money in immediately, versus in 2008, which many people like to call a recession. I don't know. I'm sort of say it borderlines on a depression because it was pretty severe. But the inflation, there's no guarantee either way. That's just something to watch out for. But also the conversation for you as agents is that, you know, there's no better hedge against inflation other than homes as investments, much stronger as to protect yourself from that. So let's see, let's get out of here. Let's go some numbers. These are what they were looking at as far as on a national level. And in fact, it's Noah Blanton. These are Dr. Hume's numbers as the national guy who does the economy. Noah Blanton is a local, and he felt that he very much agreed with both of them. Agreed to these were sort of the picture that was going to happen over the next 2 years. GDP looked like in 2000, and it was up 2.3% in 2019, was probably going to drop to 3% this year, and was probably going to go up 3% next year. Job gains, there was going to be some loss in that because as the whole economy sort of reconfigures ourselves, and it was probably the numbers that they were least sure of, because we're not quite sure, you know, how many people go back to the office to work, how many people work at home, you know, what the configuration is that's going to be. Home prices, they thought this year was going to be flat or maybe even up as much as 2%, with next year 2.2 to 4% increases, which also speaks positively about our livelihood here. Home sales were down 5 to 10%, and that was basically because we took the pause, and a certain amount of those people we either will lose from the market or will have postponed. And I think that's where you're seeing the 2 to 4% increase in 2021, because some of those people not sure what's happening or unsure have just said, oh, gee, we'll just hold out until next year and make our move. But they still need to move based on family situations, etc. So next year we could be up 8 to 12%, which is also healthy. Okay, let's see. Okay. And by the way, I'll be more than happy to send this group of slides to anybody who would like it, to it. Did pull some local numbers, just looked at, and they're just by week, and it just says the number of, you'd see probably 315. We had 4 listings, new listings. So that was probably the worst. And as we became a little bit better at doing these things, we came back up to the 7, 10, 10, 14 each week. And you'll see RMLS, we sort of mirrored each other as far as the trend, 315 being the lowest at 331, and then coming up as high as 509 for the week of 419, just as we came up to 14. So pending sales, you sort of saw some of the same trend, except it was a little further down the line. The low point or belly of it ends up being the end of March. And then we started figuring out and establishing ways to do business. Let's see. Canceled. This just sort of tells you how many people ran away from the market and decided, I want out of the marketplace. And we were looking at, 12, 8, 10. So we were sort of a little bit loaded to the second half. What I can't tell you is I can't tell you how many of these were just relists, where they maybe came off the market for a week and then decided to come back on, or whatever reason, or the agent decided that it was a marketing strategy to take it off the market and put it back on. But you can see also RMLS was a little high on that end also towards the end. But it's not, if you look at last year's, it's just not something exaggerated at all. It's just sort of the general course of business as we do business year after year.
Mike, I'm going to stop you real quick. Laura had a question over in the chat box.
Sure.
A couple slides back. Are those percentages related to volume or price?
I asked it. That was a couple slides back. I asked it already.
Mike,
Good,
oh yeah,
thank
you asked it verbally. Okay, cool.
We're good?
We're good.
Okay. And let's see. And this just takes a look at where are we really at April to April. We know we're down in March. This whole thing started March 15th or thereabouts, or it really started getting intense. So I took April, which says, how did we settle out to this? And it looks like closed volume, we had 67 versus 73. So we were just a little bit off, 6 units off of last year. And that's in closed sales. And you see RMLS is off, over 800. So they took a little bit bigger hit over last year on closed sales. And canceled sales, last year we did 37. This year there was 41. So really not a big effect in canceled sales. But you see RMLS, they probably again took a bigger hit here and had a little more than the percentage that we have to it. But that's generally everything I have for you. Certainly can talk about it a little more. Certainly talk to anybody who wants to sit there and have a conversation on the phone. More than happy to talk to anybody, or Zoom call for that matter. Or I'd be glad to send you a set of these slides. And in fact, by the way, I do have a copy of the OAR presentation by these 3 individuals, and also Dr. Yoon's sets of slides. So if you ever want to listen to that, I'd be glad to send it over. We had some of our agents already out there. Beth Castor was there, Robin was there, and I'm sure there was several others of you on it. But it was a great call. So hopefully that at least puts things in perspective a little bit, or maybe spurs you on to want to find out a little more, so you can use that into your listing presentation, so you can educate your clients. Anyway, that's what I have. We have any questions out there, or you ready to, you've just OD'd on all of this?
What are some people's takeaways too, that you can tell your clients about?
I think- Go ahead.
One of the, when I look at this information, our business lags. So May and June are going to tell the real story about the impact of COVID-19, I think. And, and then we'll see. But that looked encouraging, but keep going.
It was a very, very much more positive conversation, especially nationally. And we were fitting in there in that field, but it was a very positive feel for it. And I think we were all a little bit, not surprised, but encouraged by the way they approached this. As severe as it's been, there was a lot of reason for hope, and there was a lot of reason to think that this was really a short-term hurdle that we had to get our legs over.
And Dr. Yoon, he said, if he could be a realtor in any city, it would be Portland because of the inventory when he's looking at the numbers of national versus the local. So hopeful, but yeah, Peter, we'll keep looking at the numbers. Anyone else?
Do you have his email address or phone number? I'll call him. Maybe we can get him here.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
He is so booked.
Yeah.
He gave us about a half hour, and he was immediately going on the Zoom call with another state. He's just lined up back to back to back. So he had to go from Portland, Oregon, out to Kentucky.
You misunderstood me. I want to sell him a house.
I know. I never misunderstand that from you, Peter.
Awesome. Anyone else have any takeaways or questions on any of the numbers for either Brad or Mike?
Well, I would add to that. I think, our challenge is that the activities we're doing today start to show up in 90 days. That's just the way the nature of our business is, especially right now where, a well-priced home is selling and, within 30 days of putting it on the market, and it's closing within, 4 to 6 weeks after that. So right now, I think the market center had great momentum going into March, clearly, and it looks pretty darn good for April. If you think about what our activities are for May, this will start to show up. If you think about the seasonality of Portland, normally our market center dips in August for people that are, kids get out of school, parents start to focus on that. They might take vacations. And so the market center starts to dip in August. Usually August is not a great month. This year, it might be compounded depending on how COVID goes, but a lot of the activity for May and June will be reflected in August. So, we've talked about this, positioning ourselves. It's been great information today. Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Mike. We talk about positioning ourselves as the first position realtor doing those activities right now. This news has been really encouraging. Can you imagine rates going down from here with low inventory? So, it sounds pretty darn good. We just got to get out and do the activities that we've been talking about doing to make sure we have a good second half of the year.
Great. That's a good reminder, right? Thank you again, Mike. Let's switch gears and hear from you guys about successes, challenges, things you've worked through. Robert, will you talk about, you had a big repair addendum that could have been a deal killer or a mindset killer for a lot of people.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining me here today, by the way. I had a deal. It started out as a pretty sweet looking little listing. It was $440,000 on a creek in Malino, and so it went into escrow immediately with one buyer, and then ended up falling out essentially because of COVID, because one of the buyers she lost her job. And so right before docs went out, it was done for. So put it back on the market. And that's when I did a bunch of virtual open house stuff for that listing at that point. And that's where this person came from, actually, this next buyer. So within about a week, it was back in contract at full price. Well, he immediately found a bunch of things. He saw some stuff and then wanted to get it checked. Basically, he thought the house wasn't level, which no one else had ever mentioned. I hadn't noticed, but it was off by about 3 inches from one corner to the other corner. And so he brought out Terra Firma and all these kind of people to take a look at things. He brought out a roofer. So in the end, what came of all those repairs, and in the meantime, this stuff hadn't been disclosed because the seller didn't know about it, but he thought she was trying to conceal it. So there was this contentious back and forth between the two of them. They're still not fond of each other. But so his repair addendum, and I haven't been in this business as long as a lot of people, but it was $125,000 repair addendum, and that seemed like a pretty big repair addendum to me. So the seller was not gonna come to $125,000. She didn't even entertain the thought. So we got all the invoices over to her, and she looked at it, and she agreed to do about $65,000 of that. So at this point, we were about $60,000 apart. And so then the buyer came back, and she kind of put her foot down and said, "That's as far as I'm going. I'm not doing anymore." So when she said that, he quit playing quite as hard of hardball, and he came down a little bit more. But in the end, we ended up about $25,000 apart. So, and neither one of them, they were both entrenched in their sides, so they weren't going to budge either way. And so the deal basically was done, or it seemed to be done. So what I did is I proposed to them, and I have both the buyer and the seller on this transaction, so there was actually more room to play with as far as money went. But I proposed that we split that $25,000 3 ways. So I put in a third, and they each put in a third, and they both agreed to that. And they were both, it doesn't obviously make me more money, but hopefully down the road it'll come back, because they both were very pleased and surprised by that. So anyways, and I still make 4% on the deal, so that's not so bad. But anyway, so they agreed to it, and actually yesterday we got all the contracts finalized and signed off to the bank. The deal's done. Knock on wood, but the deal's everything's done as far as the bank's concerned, and so we're just kind of waiting to get CDs out, and then it's scheduled to close next Thursday. So it kind of it's been a big roller coaster, big learning experience too, but it seems to be working out. Again, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx myself, but it was kind of nice, especially when I thought I had such a slam dunk initially, to finally kind of rein it back in, hopefully. So that was my story of my fun times.
Hey, Robert, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did Chantel help you along the way?
No, I didn't call anybody. I did it all on my own.
Good for you. That's
Just kidding. Yeah, I called her about 119 times.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, I was getting into territory that I didn't actually know existed at certain points. So, yeah, she helped me quite a bit, as she always does, by the way.
Robert?
Chantel,
Yes, sir.
Put a plug in for Chantel, would you please? She's been doing a great job.
Chantel rocks. She does. I mean, I've already talked to her once on the phone this morning about some stuff.
Yes. Thank you, Chantel.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yes, sir.
Did you get multiple bids, or just go with Terra Firma?
No, we got bids from Terra Firma and Ramjack, and actually Ramjack is who ended up being the winner of that. They were about 10,000 less than Terra Firma.
That was kind of my point.
Yeah. So I didn't actually. That was it to those two for that particular aspect of things.
Hey, I have something that's off the topic a little bit, but what you said, for whatever in my strange mind triggered this. This is a good thing to remember. I've had these where you get these monster addendums, like repair addendums, and sometimes they're super high because repairs are legitimate, but other times they're super high because the people think they just paid too much, and they're trying to correct it in the addendum. And I would just throw this out there as something that you could put in your hat. To bridge that gap in the past, that last 25,000 that you've had, I've had my sellers counter back that they'll contribute some amount of money in discount points to buy the purchaser's loan down in lieu of the gap. And so, you know, it could be, depending on what's going on right now, what their loan amount was, you know, like I might say, well, rather than go 25,000, let's give 5,000 discount points and buy their loan down so that the buyer's payment is lower. They don't expect that, right? The buyers would never, ever expect that. And when you go back, so you have some contribution already, now you're just finalizing it, you know, instead of giving commissions, you just buy their loan rate down to the point where today it might get under 3% and they might say, oh my God, that's amazing. I'll do that deal for sure. And they kind of lose track of all those silly repairs, which may not have been all that important to them anyway in some cases. So anyway, just remember that one.
Yeah, no, I would have. I mean, I did. I should have called you probably on that one, but I gave it thought. I was trying to come up because I couldn't get them to budge. I couldn't think of any other way to do it. But yeah, I would have obviously preferred not to have done it that way if I would have come up with a more creative method. So I'll definitely keep that in my quiver.
No, you did a great job. I've done that many, many, many times. Good business decision.
Right? 2 deals with a smaller percentage. There's more than
Yeah.
deals.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But Robert, and I think it's a great reminder of mindset, right? Some people might have taken that $25,000 difference that you guys the seller and buyer couldn't come to an agreement on and been really discouraged, or, you know, this is never going to go. But it's the attitude and, okay, let's go for help. Let's ask for help in our office and get it done. So that's a great reminder of mindset.
Well, don't think I didn't have my moments though.
And that, you know, that's why I wanted you to share that today, because I mean, everyone's work, you know, sometimes we try to highlight all the successes people are having on these calls, but a lot of times it's a challenge that turns into a success. So I think that's great that you were able to work through that with Chantel too. Another good thing that has been happening, I'll have Marcella talk a little bit about this, and I touched on it last week, but Marcella wasn't on. But Marcella, will you share with us about how you guys have been doing Facebook ads and how that's been working for you?
Yeah, so I posted about it on Facebook already, like last week or whenever it was that we had the Zoom call and the gentleman was on that was talking all about the Facebook ads, but I never played around with it enough on command to realize how stupid easy it is to put together a decent campaign and just throw it out there. So it was our first one. And I was just, you know, after his call, I was like, okay, this is easy. So I texted Dwight and I was like, I'm going to run one of these and see if we can get anything out of it. So we have a really pretty listing that just came on the river in Westland. So easy marketing. The photos are beautiful. So I just put together a little ad about, you know, waterfront, modern farmhouse on the Tualatin River, you know, just super simple to go through the steps and do it. And then I thought, he kind of talked about, you know, Facebook was better at actually getting leads back than Instagram, but I decided I was going to try both since we have a team Instagram and Facebook page. And I think I ran $40 for 10 days, $20 each. And so far, I think today's day 9, we've gotten 34 leads already. So, and not all of them, you know, some people get back to you with, you know, someone used my email address, or we haven't heard back from a ton of them, but between Chris and I, we've followed up and, you know, left voicemails and follow up with emails. And it just seems like for, you know, even if half of them are legit, for $40, if one of those people work out, you know, in the long run with buying or selling, then $40 seems pretty minimal to run and potentially get a deal out of it. And so far now we've got, you know, we've kind of figured out how to find the leads and where they are in command and that sort of thing. And so now the next thing I think for us is figuring out maybe a good campaign to put them on, or, you know, something of value we can start sending them to potentially turn some of them into clients. So that's kind of just been my thing about, I've been on Facebook for how many years, and we've had a team Facebook for, you know, 4 years now or whatever since I've been here, and we've never paid for anything like that. And it just seems, you know, command made it so easy. I couldn't believe it. So we're definitely going to keep trying and keep running, you know, different kind of ads and see what we can get out of it, I think.
I have a question.
What?
Are you changing a diaper right now?
No, hanging
Oh,
with a cute baby.
Oh, our guest star. 34 leads, $40. That's a $1.17.
Yeah,
That's great, right?
yeah, just crazy. And we actually have gotten, I mean, most of them from Facebook. We've gotten, I think, 9 or 10 from Instagram. So
Oh.
it's not like, they're not coming from there.
That's so great. If you need help with doing those, running those campaigns, Tanya walked through it one of the Zoom calls, and it's posted on our YouTube page. The link to our YouTube is on our Facebook, or email one of us if you need that. But all of these videos, but especially the command ones, are on there, so you can kind of follow along. And also Jay Cermak's video. So 2 different ways of learning about that. And then if you still want help with command or need extra help, Tanya is going to continue to have those classes, and they're very small groups right now, just a handful of people, so you can really get that one-on-one help that you need to walk through some of these things. But as Marcella said, it's stupid easy. I love it.
Yeah, sorry.
About the command campaign, right?
Yeah, and if anyone wants help, I'd be happy to help too. We're just going to keep playing with it and see if we can get anything out of it. So it seems like a pretty easy thing to be doing right now while I'm sitting at home on my computer and on Facebook and Instagram all day anyways.
Right. Great. And then if you don't have a listing, and I know there were some issues this week with the listings pulling correctly through command, they're getting that fixed. But other things you could post or do a campaign on in the meantime are, the app with the little video of the link, something about Keller Mortgage, something, there's some other different, a client testimonial about how great you are, in one of those little blurbs. There's a lot of other content that you could push out if you don't have a listing right now, or the listing's giving you a little bit of trouble because of that glitch. And I know that some of the glitches can be frustrating, but command has so many people working through it that the more we do things, the more they kind of figure out what needs to be done and what needs to be changed. So awesome, Marcella.
I made a campaign this morning, Corrine, with one of those listings that you can't pull in. You can pull a snap in, which is almost the same thing, and then pull the pictures in individually. So you could pull them off the MLS and put them in, and it's almost exactly the same. So I'm pushing one out that way.
Okay, wait, explain that a little further. Like when you say pull a snap in, maybe just explain all that.
So snapshots of the neighborhood, and it actually shows, you can put the listing information in manually too, but it shows what the neighborhood looks like so they can see the neighborhood and what's going on in it, and then pull the listing and you can put text in and all kinds of things. I'm doing the same thing with the landing page. These are both for Robert Thompson's listing I've been playing with.
Awesome. That's great, right? So you're having the glitch, it's not working. So instead of throwing the towel in, figuring out a different way to kind of go around it. So if anyone, don't kill me, Chantal. If you have problems with your listing, Chantal, she did it.
No,
Sure.
I can do it.
And yeah,
I'd like to encourage anybody else who wants to use my listing for Facebook marketing to go ahead, by the way. Just so you know.
awesome.
Get it sold.
Anyone else had any luck with Facebook ads or anything to share on that? Might be the time to try it out, even if you've never done it before. Pam, tell us about the week. Any successes, good stories, challenges you worked through?
Get off mute.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, we've had, oops, are you there?
yep.
Lost myself. I lost my screen. So as long as you can see me or hear me. Yeah, we've just been sticking, these meetings I think have been great. I've really, kind of been looking forward to like the 10 a.m. meetings that we have, because I always find great value with different, different stories, different speakers, different guests, different topics that I think of, if not all, like one of them will certainly resonate with us and what we're going through now. So I appreciate that a lot. And so, yeah, we're just, I love the Laura Gillot one about just how she connects and stays with her sphere. And so that's really what we're doing now, is we're just nourishing our sphere like nobody's business. I printed up, each week I print up like just the same list of like past clients and my core database, and just reaching out to everybody. I mean, really just with handwritten cards and, calls. And I feel like now is just that opportunity to connect with people in such a different way, that, it's almost like I think of bold and making like the bold, like all the calls that you're supposed to make, but not the, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest type calls, but I am making those calls, but with such a different intent that it's actually been, I've really enjoyed these past few weeks of like what I've been doing more so than ever. And I know that's hard because there's a lot of, pain and stuff going on out there. And so I think about that certainly, but just the conversations I'm having are really, really positive and really good. So I've actually been, having success with just connecting and conversations, and that leading to, business or, the activities like, Dwight had said that we'd done, 30, 60, 90 days ago are now coming to fruition because people still have their plans. But I do feel good about the conversations and the activities that we're doing now that will result later on.
That's so great. And, like you said, you're enjoying it, right? You're making your heart feel good by genuinely connecting.
It does feel really good, the conversations I'm having, just because it's like no other time. I mean, we all know that. And it is kind of what you're doing with that to propel forward. So I feel like the conversations and things I'm doing are very different, but in just a much more resonating way. And then we're able to also just be creative, like put out content there that in the stuff, like I like the slides that, Mike was showing just about, it's not all doom and gloom. When you look at, maybe 2019 compared to now, we're doing a lot of that. We're creating content that's just reducing the fears of making, big decisions or big purchases, because that really what it comes down to right now with people and their fears is they don't want to make a wrong decision or, make a large purchase when it's not the right time or what's happening. So I think we're creating content that does reduce those fears, having those conversations, being seen as like the industry expert in the conversations we have and the things we put out there, and then just following up in a gentle way, remaining top of mind and following up with people and not that I ever am aggressive, but it's just in that more kind of gentle, heartfelt way. And so with the combination of all those things, I feel like we're having good momentum.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have any successes or challenges they want to share? Alex, Peter, how are you guys doing? Anything exciting to talk about?
Yeah, well, we had a transaction for probably the sweetest client any of us could imagine. Her email handle is Grandma Jan. That gives you any indication how sweet she is. And we're selling her little townhome in Gresham. We listed it for $275. Before the virus hit, we got multiple offers, got bid up to $290. She was thrilled. The two offers that we got put together, one had waived their inspections and was doing, I can't remember the type of loan program. Maybe somebody here knows it, Lyft or something like that, where they get some support for their down payment. And then we had a backup offer that was cash at $290. And we lost the first sale due to the virus. The buyer made too much money to qualify, and so he pulled out. And then the backup offer, the virus hit and he got furloughed or laid off, and so he didn't want to go out and spend $290,000 of his money, not knowing when he was going to go back to work. And so we sat on the market after the virus had hit and the world had changed for several weeks. No activity at all on the listing, and the seller was freaking out. She had moved to Bend, and she thought she actually had the virus. Turns out she didn't, thankfully. But then last weekend we had a run of showings for some reason, and it wasn't just this listing. We saw big activity across all of our listings for foot traffic through the door, and we ended up getting 3 offers on this listing 2 days ago, and we leveraged those offers and got the price bid up. It didn't go all the way back to 290, but we're at 281 now, and the seller's just thrilled. So I guess the good news is we got one pending, and we saw a huge increase in foot activity, foot traffic through our listings over the last week. Just, I mean, quadrupled. So.
Wow, that's great to hear, right? I think even initially, maybe some of those people that had a lot of those fears and, it kind of froze them are realizing, okay, there's a point where you have to continue on. And I think you keeping the right mindset, right? Of like not getting discouraged when things go bad. And, I think everyone who shared today had some mindset was a big component of it, right?
Yeah.
Awesome, Alex. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, wait, Morgan has a question. Oh yeah, what kind of feedback, interest, traffic on virtual tours is everyone having? Anyone been doing virtual tours that wants to chime in on that?
Oops, Dwight's on mute, but
Dwight, you're on mute.
somebody, that's a great question.
So are we talking a virtual tour as in a Matterport tour, or a virtual tour as in the realtor is walking through the house with his phone on and he's going to send it to his clients, or something else?
Nope, she says Matterport, yes.
So, okay, so Matterport, yes, we've used Matterport and we are getting people looking at it. No sales, so we can say, people saw it on Matterport and bought the house. Right now, our active inventory is over 1 million, so that price point's not doing really well right now. There's not a lot of activity. I am totally pushing my things to make sure that when this opens up, that these are the first houses to get people out looking at them. It's all about that first position realtor versus first position house, right? Continue to do the activities so that when the window to buy opens up again, they lift the stay-at-home order, then my listings are the ones that people have marked and they've studied, and they've driven by and, they're ready to go. So we learned that in Persian Gulf War, by the way. I know Peter and I were both selling in the Persian Gulf War, and there was a moment there where we all wondered if the United States was going to be around in 6 more months because of the conversation around weapons of mass destruction. And then literally, like in a weekend, the US invaded Iraq and just rolled right through Iraq. And the market just started ringing 2 days later. And it was like nothing had ever happened in terms of real estate. You remember that, Peter? You turned off.
Yes, I remember that. And that's pretty amazing. You remember anything that far back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Peter, to close us, will you share your attitude quote? I think it's appropriate today.
I have 2.
Okay.
The primary one is that 95% of life is attitude, and the other 5% is attitude. Now, COVID-19 kind of takes that away, because I used to always have a caveat that as long as you were healthy. But the other one I like is that nothing in life is so bad it can't be made better by the way that you take it.
By the what?
I think by the way that you take it. Nothing in life is so bad it can't be made better by the way that you take it. And I think we're all doing a pretty good job of that. So, and I think these meetings are a big piece of that. And I think they're very valuable as well. I look forward to them.
Oh, we love hearing that. And if there's any specific topics or things that you guys would like to hear about, or guests, or different people that you want to hear from, please let us know. We want to continue to make these valuable for you. So thank you, and Pam, for saying that.
Hey, Corinne, before you close, can you put up that slide on the Rieger Consulting? Are you there?
I think Austin was doing another webinar at the same time.
Okay, I'm not hearing him. So I guess we'll do
I
that.
just cut in, or your audio just cut in. I'm having audio difficulties on my computer, so I'm still here. I just can't hear anything except for right when I heard my name.
Oh, okay.
Another meeting right now. I'm just kind of moderating the whole situation, so I don't know what you asked.
I'm just wondering, can you throw that Rieger
the chat.
thing slide up?
Austin, that Rieger slide. Okay, technical difficulties. Do you want to just speak about that real quick, Dwight, or want to do it on Monday?
Speak about it really quickly, and then if he can get it to work, it'll show up. So many of you would know that the person, Craig Rieger, who has been on the stage with Gary, and he's done a lot of teaching at family reunions and mega camps, and he's most well known for his 90 listings in 90 days that he did after the downturn. And he has, he still has a team that's producing from the Sunset Corridor office, but he's started a consulting group, and he's doing coaching. And to kick that off, he's starting a 6-week series of Zoom consulting with special guests. And so I signed our office up because I've known Craig when I used to actually sell a lot of real estate. He was starting out, and he's grown, and we've had a lot of good conversations over the years. He's a super smart realtor, and I think his heart's in the right place. And so I'm excited to see him take off in the coaching world. He is someone I'd consider to have coach me. The office is signed up. You're all going to get links from Rieger Consulting, and you'll just have the option to go onto a Zoom call, and he's interviewing special guests. We should have a link out. He interviewed Chris Heller last week, and so that link should be going out to you to be able to just go back and look at that interview. I thought it was pretty good. My hope is we're trying to drill down a little bit on just activities versus international activities. And so, he speaks with a perspective of Portland when he's coaching on his classes that he's doing. And I think that's helpful for us. And then I'll pitch Pat for next week, right? So we have another coach coming online next week. Oh, there we go. Okay, so back to Craig's. If you look on the right, 6 weeks, Wednesdays, that's what we're signed up for. You're going to get a link from them. It's no obligation. They'll pitch it to you. He's going to bring probably amazing people that are in the trenches right now. So we'll talk about that next week, but I just wanted to alert people that the office is signed up for it, and you're all going to get it. And then the other thing I was leading into before we end the call was I have a client who lives in Portland. I've known him for years. He is a coach. He's a personal coach for a company called Iron Consulting. And he coaches CEOs across the country. And he and I were talking the other day, and I thought of asking him if he would come and just speak to us about what people are doing in business right now to basically position their companies to succeed at the highest level, start out of the gate. I don't know if I've used this before, but I think the analogy that he threw out to me was, if you can imagine the Kentucky Derby and all the horses are lined up in their stalls waiting for the gun to go off, and you want to be the horse that's coming out first, that's going to be able to be in the right spot at the first turn, right? And that's the way they're coaching people across the country. So I thought that he could bring a really nice perspective to us. So that's next Wednesday. Local guy, kids went through LO schools. So I think he'll be able to add a Portland touch to it because he's coaching. He told me he's coaching a lot of people in business in Portland.
Awesome. Thanks for giving us a sneak peek at what is next week. And yeah, those Rieger coaching ones, I know everyone's getting a lot of webinars and Zooms and things right now, but those are something that costs money because it's so valuable. So maybe treat it with a little more care than just, any old Zoom call that, we're getting bombarded with. So awesome, everyone. Dwight, if you have any final words, otherwise have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.